Hey everyone, and welcome back to The Explainer. So today, we're diving deep into a really fascinating historical analysis of the life of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. If you caught our last Explainer, you know we left off right at this remarkable point in his early adulthood, really focusing on his impeccable character in those bustling trade markets. But today we're tracking a massive, incredible transformation. We're going to transition from the deep warmth and just vibrant energy of his early family life all the way to the quiet, absolute mystery of a solitary mountain cave. It's this journey of profound psychological and spiritual shifts, and, well, we've got the history lined up to guide us every single step of the way. Let's get right into it.
So, here is the core question we really need to keep in the back of our minds today. How does a man who has built an absolutely beautiful, warm, loving domestic life suddenly feel this overwhelming urge to just retreat entirely from society? Like, why leave the comfort of a perfect home and a loving family for a harsh, rocky cave? To even begin to understand this incredible pivot, we first got to understand just how perfect that home life actually was, and how it all started.
Okay, let's dive into this. The foundation of this whole era really rests on a famous trade expedition to Syria. His unparalleled honesty and integrity on this trip, it didn't just bring back double the usual profit. I mean, it literally left everyone utterly astounded. Specifically, there was a servant named Maysara who carefully observed his pure character and detailed these incredible accounts of his trustworthiness. These stories eventually made their way back to Mecca, and let me tell you, they deeply, deeply impressed the owner of the trade caravan. And that owner was Khadija, may Allah be pleased with her.
Now, we really have to understand who Khadija was, because she is an absolutely towering figure in this history. She was this highly respected, immensely wealthy, and noble merchant woman in Mecca. She had actually been widowed twice before and had fiercely protected her wealth and her independence ever since. She was routinely rejecting marriage proposals from the absolute elite leaders of Meccan society. But when she recognized the pure character of Muhammad, peace be upon him, and his famous title of Al-Amin, meaning the trustworthy, it sparked this profound respect. And that respect ultimately led this fiercely independent woman to actually initiate a marriage proposal herself.
Now, what's really interesting about this historic union is the ages. They are deeply significant. The Prophet was 25 years old and Khadija was 40. This wasn't just, a joining of two people. This was a union grounded in a deep divine wisdom. By bringing them together, he was provided with a mature, incredibly strong, and highly resolute partner. And as we'll see, this unwavering support system would become absolutely critical for the incredibly turbulent years that lay ahead in his prophetic mission.
So, over the next 15 years or so, this union completely blossomed. God blessed this peaceful household with children, bringing just immense warmth to their lives. Their first son was Qasim, and from him, the Prophet actually took the honorable title Abu al-Qasim. Now, while historical records note the heartbreak of Qasim passing away in his childhood, the home was also brightened by 4 daughters who survived into adulthood: Zainab, Ruqayya, Kulthum, and the youngest, Fatima. This family dynamic, it basically created this vibrant, loving oasis right in the middle of Mecca.
And beyond just the kids, their household stands as this ideal model of love and mutual respect. We often think of historical figures in these grand, kind of distant terms, but the reality here was beautifully intimate. The Prophet humbly participated in his own household chores. He would actively help Khadija around the house and was even known to sew his own clothes. It really paints a picture of a home entirely devoid of arrogance, just filled instead with profound mutual support.
Adding to all this beautiful family dynamic is a really crucial historical event that happened shortly before the revelation. Khadija's nephew, Hakim bin Hizam, had purchased some slaves at the Ukaz market, and among them was a young boy named Zaid ibn Haritha. Seeing her husband's immense compassion and just stellar character, Khadija gifted Zaid to him. And what happened next is honestly remarkable. He didn't treat Zaid as a servant at all. He welcomed him, freed him, and officially adopted him as a son. And because of this incredibly deep bond of love, Zaid would later go down in history as one of the very first people to ever embrace Islam.
Let's move to the timeline and see how this all builds. After the historic marriage in year 1, we have this solid block of about 14 years, characterized by domestic peace, raising a family, adopting Zaid, and really just building this perfect, insulated home life. But then, right as we approach year 15 of the marriage, a massive shift occurs. We see the beginning of the retreats to Cave Hira. So, what happened? What exactly disrupted a 15-year period of perfect domestic tranquility?
Part 1. Mecca's moral decline, a stark contrast. To truly understand his internal unrest, we have to look outside the walls of his peaceful home.
As we've seen, his home was this oasis of justice and humility, right? But just outside his door, the city of Mecca was rapidly heading in the exact opposite direction. Meccan society during this era was sinking deep into the mud of widespread idolatry and just severe moral decay. Rampant injustice, oppression of the weak, and a general societal chaos basically became the norm. And for a man with an acutely sensitive heart and an absolute, unwavering commitment to honesty, the noise, the ignorance, and the cruelty of the society around him, it just became increasingly unbearable.
Which brings us right back to our central question, but now with a whole lot more context. Why did he seek the cave? I mean, when the outside world becomes this landscape of moral darkness and you feel entirely out of place within it, what do? Well, for him, the answer was a physical departure. He literally needed to remove himself from the suffocating chaos of Mecca.
So he found his refuge in the Cave of Hira. This is located on a mountain several kilometers away from those noisy, bustling streets of Mecca. He began to spend days, sometimes many days at a time, completely alone up in this cave. He was entirely cutting himself off from the worldly crowds, retreating into absolute silence to reflect on the universe and to connect with the Creator.
So, the crucial point here is that while this is a 7th century historical event, it actually mirrors concepts we discuss all the time today in modern psychology, the art of being alone. It shows us that intentional solitude is not a weakness, it's a profound power. It is in these moments of deep reflection, completely disconnected from the noise of society, that a human being truly connects to their soul. History shows us over and over again that monumental transformations are almost always birthed from the quiet of isolated contemplation.
And we absolutely cannot overlook the person making the spiritual journey possible in the first place. Remember that strong, resolute partner we discussed earlier? Khadija played a vitally important role here. When his provisions would run out, he'd return home, and she would faithfully prepare and pack more food and water for him so he could continue these extended retreats. It was her unwavering support that provided the practical foundation, allowing him to pursue this deep spiritual isolation for months and even years.
And this brilliantly illustrates how the physical preparation in the cave mirrored a supernatural preparation. According to the classical biography, Sirat ibn Hisham, during this period of isolation, he began experiencing what are called true dreams, or sadiqa. These were visions he'd see in his sleep that would manifest in waking reality as clearly and undeniably as the breaking of the morning light. It was a clear, unmissable signal that the universe was preparing for a massive, unprecedented shift.
So we've traced the journey, from the beautiful, loving home shared with Khadija and their children, all the way to the dark, silent isolation of the Cave of Hira. But this leaves us standing right on the precipice of history. What was the ultimate, profound wisdom behind all of this intense solitude? And what exactly would happen in that cave when the silence finally broke?
Well, the answer to that question changes the course of human history forever. To find out what happens next and to catch the next part of this fascinating story, be sure to like this explainer, share it with your friends, and definitely hit that subscribe button for the animated Quranic Tales channel. We'll be back to unpack more authentic, deeply moving historical analyses very soon. Until next time, keep learning and stay curious.